Welcome to Stephen's Academy Nutrition Center. So with me here is the biology, the first topic. So I will start with first defining the word biology. So talk about biology. So we say biology is the study of living things or organisms. So when that's good to define the biology, so we're saying that biology is the study of living things. So the other term for living things we call it organisms. So biology is the study of living things or living organisms. So for example, if someone calls you, you living organisms come here, or living organism, it's not in insult in fact in science. So living thing is same as organisms. So the definition for biology is biology is the study of living things or living organisms. Then from here we'll go straight to the branches of biology. Okay, don't mind about my writing since I'm just explaining here. So the branches of biology, the first one is botany. So talk about botany, so you need to understand what botany is. So a botany, the study of plants. So botany is the study of plants, in fact. So remember, we said that biology is the study of living things, organisms. So even plants, they're also part of living things or living organisms. And so a good example of living organisms, we have plants and also animals. So animals including monkeys, human being, rats, cockroaches, etc. All those are living things. Then you talk about plants, example like mango, guava plants, etc. Those are examples of plants. Even grasses are in the category of plant, of what? Of plants. So botany is the study of plants. So botany is one of the branch of biology. So number 2, we have zoology, which is now the study of animals. The study of animals. Okay, so zoology, the study of what? Study of animals. And number 3, we have ecology. So talk about ecology. Ecology, in fact, this is the study of interactions of organisms with each other and with their non-living organisms or environment. So ecology, we're saying that this is the study of living organisms or things, organisms, and also how they interact with the non-living organisms and the environment. So if you ask what's ecology, so ecology is the study of interactions of organisms with each other and with their non-living environment. So in short, you can say ecology is the study of living things and how they interact with non-living organisms in the environment. Okay, so number 4, I'll go to biochemistry. So biochemistry is the study of chemical reactions that occurs in a living organism. So from the word bio, which means living things, and chemistry, chemical reactions. So biochemistry in general is the study of chemical reactions that occur in a living organisms. So biochemistry is the study of chemical reactions that take place or that occurs in a living organisms. Then I'll go to the fifth one, which is the entomology. Entomology. Okay, so this one is the study of insects. So the study of what? The study of insects. Okay, so the entomology is the study of insects. We call it entomology, which is the study of insects. So these are some of the branches of biology. The first one is a botany, which is the study of plants, the zoology, the study of animals, the ecology, the study of living organisms, and also non-living organisms and how they interact with each other. Then the biochemistry, the study of chemical reaction that take place in a living organism. The entomology, the study of insects. So these are the basic branches of biology. Okay, so now we go to, since I've mentioned about the word of, the word living organisms. Living organisms. Okay. Okay. So, what are living organisms? So these are any plant or animals. Okay. So these are any plants and or animals. We call them living organisms. So living organisms is any plant or animals. Don't forget that living organisms, these are any plant or animals. Okay. So examples of living organisms. Examples of living organisms, we have all animals such as human beings, the elephants, the fish, crocodile, etc. Then example of plants such as trees and grasses. These are examples of what? Of plants. Then apart from that, we also have called what we call microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, etc. All those in the group of microorganisms. So microorganisms means the smallest organisms or the small organisms, which include what? Bacteria, fungi, etc. So this is about what we call living organisms, which include plants, animals, and also microorganisms. Okay, so I'll go to the characteristic of living things. Characteristics of living things. Okay, so talk about characteristics of living things. All living things have the following characteristics. The first one is movement. So number one is movement. So all living organisms or living things, they move. So the movement, this is the process by which a living organisms changes its location and posture without external help. So if an organism move from or change position from one place to another, which means that organism it has made what we call movement. So it may involve part of the whole organisms. The movement of entire organisms or organism from one place to another is called locomotion. Locomotion. Locomotion like this. Motion. So the movement of the entire organism from one place to another is what we call locomotion. So it means on this one, only animals can able to locomote, but plants can only move. When we talk about movement in plants, the only part of the plant change the location. Example, if there's a wind, example vikamenyana na vimitengo like mpepo ikabwela vinyana na mitengo vichaso mitengo, that we call it movement. Then locomotion yeve, this one we call it the change in position or the movement of organism from one place to another, we call it locomotion, and only animals can undergo locomotion. So I'm saying that all living organisms can move, which means they can change the position or posture. But animals can move and also locomote. But plants can only move, which means only the part of the plant can able to change the position. Okay, so hope it's clear on this one. So we're saying that all living organisms can move. It's either by movement of the entire organism or only part of the organism can change in position. So number two is the respiration. So we're saying that all living organisms, they undergo what we call respiration. So you need to understand what is respiration. So respiration, this is the release of energy from a food substance inside the living cells. So respiration, this is the release of energy from food substance inside the living cells. And there are two types of respiration, which is we call it the aerobic and the anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. So under aerobic respiration, this one, oxygen is used. Under anaerobic respiration, oxygen is not used. So under aerobic respiration, this one is the release of energy from a food substance inside the living cells in the presence of oxygen. Then anaerobic respiration is the release of energy from food substance inside living cells in the absence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration is the release of energy from food substance inside the living cells in the absence of oxygen. Then apart from that, we need to know that aerobic respiration produces huge amount of energy compared to anaerobic respiration. So this one will have huge amount of energy, this one will have less amount of energy. So all living organisms, it's either plant or animals, they undergo what we call respiration. The number three, we have growth. So all living organisms, they undergo this process called growth. So growth is a permanent increase in size, mass, and also the number of cells and complexity, which is complexion of an organism. In unicellular organisms, growth mainly involves increase in cell sizes. Then in multicellular organisms, growth is caused by increase in number of cells through cell division. So in short, we're saying that all organisms that undergo growth. So growth is the permanent increase in size, the number of cells, and also the mass of organisms. So you need to understand that all living organisms undergo what we call movement, respiration, growth. Then number four, we have reproduction. Okay, so reproduction, this is the process by which living organisms produce their young ones. So reproduction is a process by which living organisms produce their young ones. And there are two types of reproduction, which is the sexual and asexual reproduction. Which is sexual, I'm saying sexual, and asexual reproduction. So under sexual reproduction, this one is the two gametes are needed for it to take place. Then asexual reproduction, there's no fusion of female and male sex cell for it to take place. So reproduction, I say that this is a process by which living organisms produce their young ones or offsprings. There are two types of reproduction, which is sexual and asexual production. Under sexual production, I'll start with sexual first. In sexual production, offsprings are produced by the fusion of male and female gametes from one or two parents and are genetically different from their parents. In asexual production, the offsprings are produced from one parent without it evolving in any gametes and genetically identical to their parents and each other. Okay, so I said the production is a process by which living organisms produce their hormones, and the two types of production, which is sexual and asexual production. Then I'll go to excretion. It's number 6, I think so. Number 6, which is excretion. Excretion. So all living organisms are able to excrete. So excretion is the removal of toxic metabolic waste from the cells of the body. So all living organisms are able to excrete. Even human beings are able to excrete. Example, we have a human being urinate. You know urinating, Kutunda. So kutunda na kweve, even sweating is part of excretion. The removal of waste product in the body. And the same waste product, when allowed to accumulate in the body, they're poisonous. Okay? Then I'll go to feeding. Number 7, we're feeding. So feeding, this is the process by which living organisms make food available for their processes. So feeding is the process by which living organisms or living things make food available for their processes. And the two types of feeding, which is auto means self, autotrophic, and also what to call heterotrophic. So another name for feeding is nutrition. So the nutrition or feeding is the process by which living organisms make food available for their processes. There are two types of nutrition, which is autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition, the type of nutrition where organisms make its own food. Example, like green plants. Since green plants are able to make their own food. Example, like green plants here. Green plants are able to make their own food by the process called photosynthesis. While heterotrophic nutrition is the type of nutrition where organisms takes in food that is already available, present in the bodies of other organisms. Okay, then the last one, which is number 8, is irritability. Okay, hope I'm correct with the spelling, which is also called sensitivity. Sensitivity. Okay, like this. So sensitivity, which is also called irritability, this is the ability to detect and respond to stimulus. So, example, like in simple term, I can say able to detect something. Example, maybe kukwendo, kumukosi, kumato, able to say, okay, I mean to detect that something is or someone is touching me. So equate what we call sensitive. So all living organisms, example, even plants, example like in the plants, they grow toward light and also toward water, which means it's a part of sensitivity and also irritability. Even human being, even in cockroaches, just imagine cockroaches, they're able to detect the light. When you sit on the light, the cockroaches, they do what? They run away from light, which means it's also part of what? It's also sensitivity. So both plants and animals, they undergo what to call sensitivity. So these are the branches of biology, and also the characteristic of living things. So the next lesson now will be on metabolism and other parts. Thank you very much. For notes, in fact, I'll send the notes using the WhatsApp. So you can just text my WhatsApp on 0972 62 32 22. Thank you very much.